We all collectively mourned the tragic loss of Detective Nathan West. We watched Maxie Jones shatter into a million pieces over his casket. We saw the ripple effect of that tragedy tear through the Port Charles Police Department and the WSB. And now, to find out that every single tear we shed, every moment of heartbreak we endured, was based on a monstrous, calculated lie, it is an absolute insult to our emotional investment, but at the same time, it is the kind of storytelling that makes us unable to look away. If you thought the writers had crossed every possible line with the Faison family legacy, you are sorely mistaken. The betrayal we are witnessing right now goes deeper than anything Caesar Faison ever orchestrated, because this time, the knife is being twisted by Nathan's own flesh and blood. Right now, the canvas of Port Charles is an absolute disaster zone, and I mean that in the most chaotic way possible. We have Jens Sidwell running loose, setting traps for Sonny Corinthos and Laura Collins. We have Ross Cullum operating as the dirtiest double agent the WSB has ever seen, threatening Jack Brennan and swapping Britt Westbourne's life-saving medication with actual poison. And right in the middle of this suffocating web of deceit is Cassius Faison, the man who has been parading around town wearing his twin brother's face. Cassius has been playing a very dangerous game of house, tricking Nina Reeves, manipulating the PCPD, and most unforgivably, bonding with little James West. If you ask me, watching this imposter play father to a boy whose real father he helped destroy has been nothing short of nauseating. We all knew Cassius was feeling the heat. Anna Devane, bless her brilliant investigative mind, has been screaming from the rooftops in France that this Nathan is an imposter. Her desperate theory has been slowly gaining traction, and Cassius realized his meticulously crafted facade was crumbling to dust. He knew he had to flee town. He knew the WSB and the PCPD were closing in, but instead of slipping into the shadows like a coward, he took a massive, unforgivable risk. He promised to take James to the batting cages for one final goodbye. Guys, I was screaming at my screen. Felicia Scorpio tried to reach Cody Bell to protect that sweet boy, but she was too late. Cassius didn't just say goodbye. He abducted James West right out from under everyone's noses. But that's not even the craziest part. The true motive behind this kidnapping is a jaw-dropping twist that is going to wreak devastation on every single family in Port Charles. Cassius did not take James out of malice. He didn't take him to use as a human shield against Ross Cullum or the WSB. He took him for a reason that completely rewrites the last 8 years of General Hospital history. Are you ready for this bombshell? Nathan West is alive. I need you to let that sink in. Detective Nathan West, the man we buried, the man whose death defined a generation of tragedy on this soap, has been breathing this entire time. For over 8 agonizing years, Nathan has been locked away in a clandestine WSB black site prison located just outside of town. He has been rotting in a dark, forgotten cell, completely isolated from the woman he loved and the son he never got the chance to raise. And the architect of this living nightmare? His own twin brother. Cassius Faison was intimately involved in the sinister plot to fake Nathan's death all those years ago. He and his shadowy accomplices orchestrated the entire tragedy, pulling the wool over the eyes of the medical examiners, the police force, and Nathan's grieving family. They stole a good man's life and locked him in a cage. But that's not even the craziest part. The most twisted layer of this long-buried secret is Cassius's current psychological state. You see, playing the role of Nathan for these past few months didn't just fool the town, it broke Cassius's own mind. Spending time with James, looking into the eyes of his twin brother's son, and experiencing the pure, unadulterated love of a child has awakened a crushing, overwhelming sense of guilt within Cassius. The remorse for the heinous crimes he committed against his own flesh and blood has become entirely too much to bear. He isn't kidnapping James to hurt him. In his warped, fractured reality, Cassius believes he is doing a righteous thing. He is bringing James to that WSB black site to reunite a father with his son. If you ask me, this is the most complex villain arc we have seen in decades. Cassius is a man drowning in the sins of his past. He knows he is going to prison, or worse, that Ross Cullum might put a bullet in his head to tie up loose ends. His twin impersonation is exposed, his alliance with Cullum is fraying, and he is essentially a dead man walking. So, what does a dead man do? He tries to buy his soul back. Cassius genuinely believes that if he can just get James to that prison, if he can just let Nathan see the beautiful boy he created, it will somehow absolve him of the monstrous betrayal he committed 8 years ago. It is a pathetic, desperate attempt at redemption, and it is putting an innocent child in lethal danger. But that's not even the craziest part. We have to talk about this WSB prison. This isn't your standard minimum security facility where you can just walk up to the visitation window. This is a black site, a place where people go to disappear permanently. The guards there don't ask questions, they shoot on sight. By dragging James toward this heavily fortified nightmare, Cassius is inadvertently walking his nephew into a literal war zone. Ross Cullum has eyes everywhere, and you better believe that if Cullum finds out Cassius is heading to the very facility where they have been hiding their greatest secret, he will send an army of hitmen to silence them both. James is caught in the crossfire of a massive international conspiracy, and his life is hanging by the thinnest of threads. Think about the absolute devastation this is going to cause when the truth finally hits Port Charles. Imagine Maxie Jones, a woman who has spent nearly a decade trying to rebuild her shattered life, trying to find love again, and trying to honor Nathan's memory every single day. When she finds out that her husband was alive this whole time, suffering in a cold cell just miles away, it is going to break her in ways we haven't even begun to fathom. All the grief, all the moving on, all of it was built on a foundation of lies. The emotional fallout for Maxie alone is going to be the performance of a lifetime. And what about Dante Falconeri? Dante has been fiercely defending Nathan at the PCPD, arguing with ADA Justine Turner, putting his own professional reputation on the line for a man he thought was his resurrected best friend. The betrayal Dante will feel when he realizes he was protecting the very monster who helped imprison the real Nathan will be catastrophic. Dante is a man of the law, but when it comes to his family and his brothers in blue, he operates on pure loyalty. Discovering that Cassius used that loyalty to hide his own sinister past will unleash a rage in Dante that we have never seen before. Then there is Anna Devane, our brilliant, relentless Anna. She sat in that medical facility in France, knitting and playing the role of a docile patient, all while her brilliant mind pieced together the impossible truth. She tried to warn Felicia. She tried to explain why this Nathan was lying. When Anna finally makes her daring escape and returns to Port Charles, her vindication will taste like absolute ashes. Because being right means that her worst fears are realized. It means that the Faison legacy of terror is still actively destroying lives. Anna will have to lead the charge to storm that WSB Black site, and I am telling you guys, it is going to be the most high-stakes rescue mission in the entire history of General Hospital. Here is the harsh, unforgiving truth and the biggest plot twist of this entire saga. Even if Cassius manages to bypass the heavily armed WSB guards, even if he successfully brings little James to the door of Nathan's cell, the man inside is not the Nathan West we remember. You do not spend 8 years in a dark, isolated WSB torture facility and come out the same bright, optimistic detective who charmed his way into our hearts. The Nathan that Cassius is trying to reunite with James might be a broken, traumatized shell of a man. Cassius's guilt-driven fantasy of a happy family reunion is a complete delusion. He has stolen 8 years of a man's life, and a simple apology with a child in tow will not erase the profound psychological damage that has been inflicted. Let's take a moment to analyze the sheer irony of Cassius Faison. He grew up in the dark, suffocating shadow of Cesar Faison, a man who defined pure evil. Cassius thought he was different, thought he could play the game better than his father ever did. He orchestrated this grand illusion, funded Jen Sidwell, worked with Ross Cullum, and played God with his twin brother's life, but in the end, it was the love of a child that wasn't even his, that broke him completely. Little James West, with his innocent questions and trusting eyes, managed to do what no police force or WSB agent could. He shattered the ice around Cassius's heart. It's a tragic, Shakespearean downfall. Cassius is destroying himself to save the brother he once destroyed. As we look ahead to next week, the collision course is set, and the stakes have never been higher. Carly Spencer is already on a rampage, preparing for a dangerous rescue mission at Windermere to save Jocelyn. But when the news breaks that James has been abducted by the fake Nathan, the entire town's priorities are going to shift instantly. Sonny Corinthos, despite being lured into Jen Sidwell's trap, will undoubtedly mobilize his forces. You do not mess with children in Port Charles, and you certainly do not mess with the family of Mac and Felicia Scorpio. The PCPD, the WSB, and the Corinthos organization are all going to converge on that black site. It is going to be an absolute bloodbath. I have to admit, guys, my heart is in my throat just thinking about the moment Nathan and Maxie finally lock eyes again after all these years. Will he even recognize her? Will he be able to hold his son without trembling? The writers have handed us a storyline fraught with so much emotional peril that it is hard to even breathe while watching. We have begged for years for a miracle, hoping against hope that Nathan's death was a fake out. Now that the miracle is here, it is wrapped in so much trauma and betrayal that it feels like a curse. The long buried secret of Nathan's survival is a Pandora's box, and once it is fully opened, the landscape of General Hospital will be permanently altered. As the latest episode fades to black, the suspense is absolutely agonizing. We see Cassius's car pull up to the imposing razor wire gates of the heavily guarded WSB facility in the dead of night. Little James is asleep in the passenger seat, completely unaware of the monumental, life-altering moment that awaits him just beyond those concrete walls. Cassius steps out of the vehicle, his face pale, his hands shaking, fully prepared to surrender his life to the guards if it means getting through those doors. The camera pans down the dark, damp corridors of the prison, stopping at a solid steel door at the very end of the hall. We hear the heavy clank of a lock turning, the screech of metal hinges opening, and a tall, shadowed figure slowly steps out of the darkness into the dim hallway light. Is it the Nathan we loved, or has the darkness claimed him forever? We will have to wait until Monday to find out, and I promise you, I will not be sleeping a wink until then.